You know that I am all about moms taking care of themselves for themselves. But the fact of the matter is that when moms are taken care of, the impact is generational. Our kids undoubtedly benefit from us showing up for ourselves and taking care of our own health and wellness. In this episode, I'm joined by mom coach, motivational wellness speaker Precious K. Williams to talk about building generational health and why we all need to be making our health a priority for ourselves and our kids. Welcome to Worthy Mother Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Hardy, a mom of two on a mission to help moms everywhere feel less alone. This is not a parenting podcast. Instead, it's a space for pushing back against societal expectations of perfection and embracing self-compassion in your motherhood journey. Let's get into it. Welcome to Worthy Mother Podcast. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us about the work that you do and maybe a little bit about why that is important to you.
First of all, hey girl, hey. I am Precious K. Williams, as you said. Won't go into that, but my upbringing, my family's from Ghana, West Africa. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm an eclectic mix of, the 90s, Nuck If You Buck, and I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, and then a little bit of Maverick City. So sometimes you never know what you're going to get with me, but my passion is women, specifically mothers, because I've had my own burnout story. I've had my own story of being last on my to-do list, which stemmed from watching my mom be last on her to-do list. I lost 75 pounds before having children and going through my own wellness journey and my own come to precious moment. I was able to put together the things that I've learned through my health science training, my counseling training, my ministry training to help other women not have to make the mistakes I made on my journey, not have to go to the very bottom of wanting to drive away to actually be able to get the support and help they need to be their best and not only be their best for themselves, but also allow their children to see them at their best.
Wow, for such a short little introduction, there's all these little pieces that I want to dig into. And the first thing you said there was how your mom had modeled for you kind of that putting yourself last on the priority list, which I think is true for so many women who are raising children right now, right? These things are generational. And I think that piece there is so important because when we're having this conversation about putting ourselves and our health first, or putting it really high up there on the priority list, understanding that everything that's happened to this point has also been passed on generationally. So
Right.
it just shows that yes, this does have an impact. Our kids do take after what we model for them. And then you said that come to precious moment. And that gave me chills because it's really there's so many opportunities in life for us to come to ourselves, to have
Yes.
that just realization of how important we are as individuals, again, for us and for our kids. So I love that. What a great way to introduce yourself.
I love that. That's the first time I ever said that. So I'm a verbal processor.
I
So
know.
it just came to me, but
I'm
it's so true.
trademark.
I know, try that. It's so true though, because as a Christian myself, I tried to decentralize it, or I know that it's the life is not only about me, right? It's about what God wants to do through me. But at the end of the day, God thinks I'm pretty dope, right? He created me and he wants us to live fully. And so a lot of women are here thinking, oh, I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be, but you're important. You're valuable. You mean something to your kids. You mean something to your tribe, right? Your community. And so if you love those people in your life, you've got to take care of the person that matters to them the most. And that's you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Can you share a little bit more about your personal wellness journey and what led you to create Simply Passionate Life and Moms on a Mission Wellness?
Awesome. Yeah. So my personal journey, I love to talk about the fact that I'm first generation. I'm the first person in my entire family born in the United States. So I learned a lot of great things from my mom. I learned how to work hard, how to be fearless, how to take really big leaps of faith, how to really be rooting in your faith when things the dollars and cents aren't adding up. But what I did not know and did not learn was how to take care of your physical health. A lot of what we did growing up, she would go to curves whenever she had a doctor's appointment. And, when I started gaining weight in my adolescent years, she would take me and we would go to curves and do a circuit training. Y'all know, I'm telling my age. Millennial stand up. And I give her grace because she had me at 40. So all the memories I'm thinking of is a 55-year-old woman or a 52-year-old woman just trying to figure it out, immigrant at that. But my journey really started around college, and I realized like, there has to be more. You know, there has to be there's the American dream that's financial, but what about access to a long life, access to the ability to leave a legacy that has to do with not being tired, not having aches and pains, not being on undue medication. And so in my mid 20s, after having moved out on my own, I really decided I need to start prioritizing my health. I had gotten to a size that I barely have any pictures in. And it's not like I was, I was happy. It wasn't that I was unhappy with the person I was. I was jovial, I was friendly. Most of us thick girls are, right? We're the fun friend, right? But I just knew that I wanted my baseline to be one of health, and I didn't have kids at the time. And so that's really, even before having children, legacy was my motivator. I wanted to be able to leave a legacy where I prioritized my health and that I made action on the things I knew. And I think a lot of women may resonate with that because we know the things. We watch Instagram. We know self-care and go for a walk, 10K walks a day and drink your water and get 8 hours of sleep. But it's a different thing to actually put it in place, to actually have a motivation that's bigger than a summer bikini, right? When we're moms, we don't care. If the bikini doesn't fit, we're just gonna buy a bigger size, right? Or we're not gonna wear it. And so I had to have a motivator that was bigger than that. So that's my personal wellness journey, partially for my mom, secondly for my future kids, and then lastly, just to really leave a legacy that was bigger than the seasonal weight loss trends.
Yeah. I think that's interesting to think about like that word legacy and what that means. And I'm actually wondering if you can dig into that a little bit more because you said that was the motivation even before having kids, is leaving that legacy. And I'm interested to know like what that looked like for you. I think in my mind right now, I'm like, okay, so like yes, there's a legacy of like being able to have kids and live a long life and raise your kids and all these things, but there's more to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. So funny, quick story. I went to Howard University, and Howard is in Washington, D.C. A lot of politics. I ran for multiple positions, and so I ran for undergraduate trustee. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to put this goes on Instagram. And the campaign slogan was the legacy movement. Something about me has always thought about the entirety of my life.
Hmm.
And maybe it's my culture being West African, where everything is about more than you. When you leave the house, it's about the Kofi name. Don't disgrace your family. I've heard that literally in high school. Don't disgrace your family. We just think about legacy as like a living legacy. It's not all about what's going to happen when you're gone and when you're older. It's like every encounter I have with people, what memory am I leaving? What imprint? Or is it indelible where they're going to remember me? Or is it something where you're kind of not, you're going through the motions? And so that's just been literally imprinted in my heart for such a long time. And for a spiritual component of wanting to be a light in such a dark world, it doesn't just come with like pleasantries. It does come down to saying like, well, I had energy to walk an older woman into the store. I was able to, pick up something for someone or help a member at church move because I actually am mobile to do that. If they were moving or bought a new house. These are things that we don't think about, but they do impact decisions. If you don't like walking up the steps, you're probably not going to volunteer to help someone move if they're, moving into an apartment on the third floor. So like just having more ability to make a difference in my daily life and having the zest and the energy to keep up with the mission God has for me. I speak on stages all over the country now, and I can't be winded. I can't be sitting there not able to move. Like, so for me, legacy is really about living each day, knowing that you're going to encounter people and what will they remember? And will you have the energy to actually be your best in that moment?
Okay. I love having a podcast because for a lot of reasons, but like one of the best parts is I get to sit here and speak to people who have really incredible things to share. And it's cool. It goes out into the world and other people hear it. But there's things that are said that sometimes I'm like, ooh, that's a reframe I'm going to take into my life. And something actually that I've been kind of toying with in my own life is like how I want to show up in the world and kind of like be this ray of sunshine for people in a way, right? Like this just be joy to people. I think
Yeah,
that's important. We need that in the world, right? Like it's something that I think lacks in a lot of spaces. That reframe of like legacy being in the moment. It can be the legacy you're leaving in a moment with somebody else.
yeah,
Like just how powerful that is because yes, there's so much more. There's these ripples. There's the getting up on stage and speaking, but there's also those small moments being able to help people. And I'm going to take that with me as a way to think about that because I think that's so beautiful, so powerful.
Yeah.
And yeah, like our health, you said you were happy kind of going into the wellness journey. It wasn't necessarily about like your mental health in that way, but I think about how mental health and physical health and wellness, it's all connected and how all of those different components, it really is like you're able to show up the way you want to show up and leave that legacy for the world when you are taking care of your physical health, mental health, wellness in all terms. Like you've painted a really powerful picture of why that is so important. So I love that.
Awesome. I love that because this is about moms, right? And sometimes what
Yeah.
we do is mundane. You seem
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm not getting on stages or I'm not like Emily, have a podcast or whatever. But sister, like you making that lunch for that person, you making those gift bags, you bringing that, going the extra mile to meet up with a new mom who just had a baby and take her for a walk. Those are things that are leaving a legacy, are making an imprint, and having the energy, having the fuel, that you're not just getting by every day is what's going to allow you to make those hard decisions. Like, do I have the extra energy to wake up earlier to support this X person? Do I have the extra energy to say, okay, you know what? I'll go volunteer in the class. I don't have to take that third nap of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and I'm just thinking, I love getting into then how those impacts are generational because if you're showing up for that mom, if you're showing up for your kids, if you're showing up for these people, that they then are able to show up differently and it influences the next generations. Like, I mean, we could get all into it, but it is so
Yeah.
powerful. I'm wondering when you say like building generational health, what that means to you and why it is so important for moms.
It's my entire mission in life. I,
Yeah.
if I can, if I feel like it's already done, which is kind of cool because every day is the icing on the cake. Sometimes you just have um, a vision or something you really, really want to do. And then once you do it, it's like, yay, I'm so glad I've done it. Now, God, what else do you have for me to do? Let's go, right? Building generational health or just putting that message into the world is so important to me because we have such a tangible expression, the tangible focus, right? We're so focused on the microwave success, money, houses, power, our kids' grades. Like there's so many things and ways that we judge ourselves, but we cannot get any of those things if we're not healthy, if we're not
Mhm.
whole. And the things that we have inherited from our parents and their parents are not permanent. We do not have to carry those same diseases and habits, and for some people, trauma into the next generation. So we, as a culture, have gotten generational wealth. People talk about 401ks and stocks and all these types of things. But as far as generational health is concerned, my definition is to cancel or to reject the things that we have inherited and diseases that we have inherited and rewrite our own health story. And so I put it like this: if when I go to the doctor and I do my health history form, I want to put high blood pressure, high cholesterol, arthritis. If I'm just going through my parents, right? And there's just so many health ailments. But when my kids go to the doctor and put their health history form, they don't check any of those things. And it was based on the decision I made for myself that I was not going to continue to accept obesity. Oh, this is how I am. My family runs my family. Women in my family are shaped this way. Maybe we are shaped that way. Maybe I always wear having 40 plus inch hips. It is what it is. But one thing these hips are going to be able to do is walk and move and, be mobile. So don't just accept that story. Rewrite it, make a decision and be intentional about it. When I had a doctor tell me like, you're one of the healthiest people I've ever met, because even when I was technically still overweight, my blood pressure, my cholesterol, all of A1C, everything was stellar. And so it really does come down to just not being passive about your health story, not being passive about what's hereditary, and
Yeah.
really being active because it does change your family's future. And it's so important. That's why I use the word build. It's not just a focus on it, it's an actual intentional action towards it.
I love the way you speak about that too, in kind of understanding like the things that our world maybe tell us represent health, right? Like weight. I mean, I think that's a big one for women. It's like if you're skinny, you're healthy, and if
Right.
you're not skinny, you're not healthy. And that's not at all what you're talking about. That's not the truth of the matter. Like I think most of us by now get that those stories, those expectations are missing a lot of pieces, right? And so I think you talk about like obviously you're a speaker, like it makes sense you're a speaker because you talk about this in a way that's like it hits really hard of like, yeah, we do have a lot of control. You can't control everything about your health. There are things that like you have no control over, but the things that you can control and getting up and moving and doing the things and choosing to prioritize yourself in that way, like we get to make that decision. We get to make that
Yes.
decision for us, and then it continues to impact. And that idea of like continuously making those decisions, continuously building that is beautiful. When you think about health starting with the mom in the family, right? Like we model that. What are some small, tangible ways that moms can prioritize our own well-being with the limited time and energy that we may have to do that? Because if we're being real, like there's a lot going on.
For real. Yes, if we're being real, that is the real deal. So, great question. That's what I love to do. So, as a wellness coach, yes, I speak, and yes, I'm a counselor, and yes, I do a lot of things. But as a wellness coach, that's my aim to help women see the pockets of time, their blind spots, and where they can prioritize their health. The CDC has a study that shows that the health and activity level of toddlers is directly tied to the health and activity level of their mothers. I'm the messenger. Don't ask me why the fathers aren't in there, but I think part of it has to do with them once being residents in our bodies, right? They just have
Yeah.
that connection with us and they model everything that we do. A few things that I always have moms do in my coaching program is one, start to assess what's on your plate that has to be let go. You have to lighten your load. So I have a framework called the lift framework. The L, you need to lighten your load. So no, I didn't say eat more vegetables, do this, do this, do that. Really, the first step is to take some things off of your plate because, like you said, we already do enough. Like, who has more time? Someone has more time that they're passing out. I would be a millionaire. If I could sell you more time, I'm sure everyone would buy it from me. But really, first, take an inventory. And then some of the next things that you can do is find things that are interesting to you. Include your kids in the activity. We're not saying master your health. We're saying prioritize your health. So I think a lot of times we judge ourselves. If we're not running a 5K, if we're not on the Stairmaster for an hour, if we're not, then it's like it's not enough. But you don't say if I don't have an hour to brush my teeth, I'm not going to brush them. If I don't have an hour to take a shower, I'm not going to get in the shower. If I can't get in the bubble bath, I'm just going to be dirty. No, like this is a part of your daily maintenance. So, hey, let's take a 10-minute walk before school. How about after school, we do a stretch workout, a stretch video on YouTube? You know, my daughters, they know we stretch in the morning and at night, and they see me do it. And so now that's a part of, you know, they get on their dad's nerve because when he wakes them up, like, wait a minute, I have to stretch. And so they do child's pose in the bed, right? No divas. But I like to say, just think that that does help. And then with me waking up early and going to the gym, when I come home or when I do have to go and my daughter wakes up early, she's like, why do you have to go to that gym? And I'm like, baby, why do I go to the gym? She's like, so you can pick up your babies? I said, yes. So I can be strong enough to pick up my babies as you grow. So I'm not telling them I'm going to the gym to lose weight. Or I'm going to the gym to do this, or mommy needs to be fixed. This is a part of who I am. And they know, just like you wash your teeth, brush your teeth, wash your face, brush your teeth, you prioritize your health. So yeah, include them, reframe what every little bit counts, and take something off your plate because you're not going to make the time is not going to magically appear if you haven't been doing it already.
I think it's interesting just the way that you said that, and it's like that's not how we talk about health. Like that's just not how we talk about health in our culture. Like
Mhm.
we talk about health very differently of like the things you need to do, and you're reframing it in a way of like it's actually starting with like just making it a priority to consider like is all of this important? Are there things here that I can kind of offload? Because if we're just kind of in the day to day of things and not stopping to think about that, we probably are overloading our schedules, overloading our energy. Like, we're not going to have time. We're not going to have the energy to do anything that is in line with prioritizing our health. So we need to be intentional about stopping and looking at that. But then, like, just choosing to, again, making the choice to do something and knowing that, like, it's enough to do something. It's
Yes.
enough to say, I'm going to be intentional about prioritizing my health. And I love that you said it's not about mastering it. Like, that's not the point. The point isn't to be perfect at this because we can take so many things and say, I'm going to be perfect at this, and then we aren't. And
Right.
that's not helpful. So just knowing, like, yeah, choosing to go for the 10-minute walk, choosing to build in your routine stretching, choosing to do anything. I recently started doing like really short. I found a YouTube channel that has like some strength training workouts,
Yeah.
like a 5-minute arm workout that like leaves my arm sore, and I'm like, I can make 5 minutes literally every single day to do it. And there have been times in my life where like doing that would feel not enough. It
Right.
feels like, well, if I'm gonna do it, I need to be putting
French.
aside at
Yeah.
least 30 minutes, and then
Right.
I don't have the 30 minutes to put aside, so I don't do it. And it's like, well, if I do 5 minutes every day, or 4 days a week or whatever it is, like
20 minutes.
yeah, and I'm getting stronger.
Yeah.
Like, and I just like getting caught in that black and white thinking of like all or nothing doesn't help anything. And I think we all need to hear that. We all
Yeah.
need to be
Yeah.
reminded that like you can do small things that do add up and make a difference.
Well, first of all, congratulations, Emily. You better.
Thanks. I know. I'm like,
Okay, it's gonna be gun show by come summertime because the truth of
right?
the matter is it's addictive, right? I'll
Yes.
say this to wives who might deal with other concerns. The more you do it, the more you crave it. That's it. Okay. Same with sugary stuff. The more you eat it, the more you crave it. It doesn't go away. And that's the same thing with fitness. The more you do it, the more you crave it. You're going to start with 5 minutes and then say, okay, let me just do 10 more minutes, or let me do some push-ups at night. This is all about mobility and functional life. You need your arms as you age, and then you need you need to be able to bend over and pick up things. You want to bend over and pick up your grandkids one long day from now, because our kids are young. But don't think about it as just a means to a aesthetic end.
Mhm.
It is about strength. I love how you say you're getting stronger.
Yeah, I mean, even like again, as we're talking about this, and it's perfectly timed conversation because a lot of this, I separated from my kid's dad
Mhm.
over last summer, summer 2024. So I've been kind of on a journey of like, in a lot of ways, I was prioritizing myself prior to that. Like speak on that. That's really important to me. And so there's been a lot of personal growth in my life before that happened, but things have kind of reset where I'm like on a journey to really like, how do I prioritize myself in this
Yeah.
season of life? And so my health has been a part of that. And I'm even thinking about like getting out and going on walks. And then when you go on a hike, it's easier to go on the hike. And then it's more enjoyable. And then you can go longer. And then going on your daily walk, you can talk on the phone and you're not breathing heavy. And like all these things, like you're saying it, you crave it. It also just makes doing it easier. Like it really is. And I think, yes, we know that, but I've been very much in that. And so
Yeah.
I'll just share that because it might
The
be
more
helpful to
you do
hear.
it.
Like, yeah, when
Yeah.
you do it, when you are doing the things, when you're taking the action, it makes it easier to continue taking bigger action too. And so starting somewhere is enough. Like it is enough wherever you start, whatever you're like bringing into your life that is interesting to you, like you said, and feels good. Like you can start small and it will grow because you will want it to grow. It really
Yeah.
does like become enjoyable.
We're so good. Yeah, because it is difficult, especially as high achieving people. It is difficult to do things when you're not good at it. I
Yes.
mean, then we were talking about this on another podcast, is that moms, especially in our world, or women in our world, when it seems like more and more rights are being taken away and more things that we're fighting for in our world, that we want to take up space. But one place that you have authority in your house, you are the queen of that castle, and you get affirmation and you get identity. And so now it's like, this is my shine. This is where I shine. And you want to put all your efforts into that, because that's where I get the most validation for being a stellar human. And it's a catch 22. So what you're saying was so true. The more fit you become, or the more your wellness becomes a priority, then when you go to attack those things, you have less of that punch in the face or in the gut that, oh God, I'm reminded that I can't do this like I used to. I'm reminded that I'm out of shape. I'm reminded. And that's one of the negative points about going all or nothing. If you wake up one day and say, I'm about to go run on the treadmill, and you stink at it, it's going to be really deflating, right? You're going to feel like, oh, I used to be able, before I had kids, I used to be able to do 4-point speed on the treadmill. Now look at me. I'm just going back, go eat some Dunkin' Donuts and go home. But it's like, if you would have started with walking on that treadmill and got that quick win, then maybe the next day you would have walked. And then maybe a week later, you would have done an incline. And then a week after that, you would have gone a little bit faster. Instead of punching yourself in the reminder of where you aren't anymore. A lot of especially as we're getting older and hormones, the stress that we are carrying and the expectations that we put on ourselves are actually counterproductive to our wellness goals, especially if you do have specific weight loss or fitness goals. You are trying to do all of this out of a stress response or a heightened nervous system, and that's literally counterproductive to anything you do. So it will be better to get some help, get yourself a coach, talk to someone, and set a plan in place so that you can release some of that stress before you start trying to tackle the goals.
Yeah, I mean, yes to all of that. When you were saying like we put the effort into our homes, I think like what came to my mind is like, yes, that we can put the effort into our homes to like make this a priority in our homes too, right? It's like making it so it's like we actually have control over our health in a certain sector of our lives. And while it may feel like on a national, global level, like we don't have control necessarily of certain things, like we do, like we can take that and that agency that we have in our homes to kind of like choose to have the control, choose to
Yeah.
like do the things that are important. And that's very empowering.
Yes, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. It teaches them. I mean, my daughters,
Yeah.
both of my older daughters, they're not older, well, 17 and 9. They'll say, I'm going outside. I'm gonna go take a walk,
Yeah.
right? They know that that's part of the coping mechanisms when things are tough.
Yeah.
And I just, and even we talk about relationships with food and genetics. I look at my 9-year-old, I'm like, baby girl, that Oreo is not the answer. You're frustrated. You want to talk about it? Do you need hugs? Let's go for a walk. Now, we have the Oreos in the house. You may enjoy them as dessert, but they are not the answer when you're frustrated. Right. And so I'm like, I can't believe that. Like, where did she learn that? That's generational. That is just, how did she learn? That's my thing. How do you know that we love Oreos solve everything? Right. But I have to teach her and to have a positive relationship with food and a positive relationship with her body and coping mechanism. So yes, I love that you said that. We can't control the whole world, but we have the world in our house and we can
Hmm.
control that, or we can impact that. We should
Yeah,
say.
yeah. Like we have choice of how we're showing up. And I think that's an important point there of like we bring things to the way we show up daily with our relationship with food, with our relationship with our body, with our relationship with exercise and all these things. And like we will continue to bring our stuff to that.
Yeah.
But it's like bringing the intention and the awareness. And it comes back again to like we have to work on ourselves first. We have to at least be self-aware of these things, but then also like working to break down those things so that we can show up in that different way and actively teach because our kids will get messages that aren't necessarily so great.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So I'm curious how you help moms shift their mindset from feeling guilty for taking care of themselves because that's the reality that a lot of times moms do feel guilty when they're, however you say it, putting themselves at the top of the list, taking time for themselves, doing things for them, and it feels like they're not doing things for their kids. Like, how do you help them recognize that that's actually an act of love for their family?
Oh man, so many ways. So I have a saying that your life is only as good as your mindset. And so a lot of people see me online or follow me and see like, oh, she works out a lot. She does all these things. Oh my gosh, I can't do those things that she does. And that's barely what my moms do. Mommy clients are not necessarily lifting 300 pounds and doing the crazy things that I do. But what I really do help them see is how important they are to God and how important they are to their family. Guilt comes in when you don't know your worth.
Hmm.
Guilt comes in when the thing that you are doing feels meaningless, feels that there's something better you could be doing. And I just want them to realize, just put yourself on the list. I'm not even saying start at the top. I'm saying put yourself on the list because if you do not, you're telling yourself, you're telling your parents, you're telling your kids that this person that values them so much, it's not important to even be on the list, to even be considered, right? I help them see that it gives your family a opportunity to serve you. I always say, give the people in your life the opportunity to serve you. And if you are serving all the time, you're once again inflating yourself as an idol in their life, and they don't ever get a chance to serve you back. So my husband does bedtime every night. My daughters, I could feel guilty and be like, "Oh, I can't believe it. I'm sitting here and they're not. Not doing bedtime." Or I could think of it as, "Wow, they get to see their dad serve them and love them every night. They look forward to that quality time." Don't center yourself in your kid's life. You know, you don't have to be their everything. We are a family. We have a village. They can build secure attachments with other people. You know, that's the counselor in me coming out. So, you know, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It didn't take us 5 years, 10 years to have mom guilt. It's a societal thing, right? Because dad guilt is not as prevalent. You know, it is a societal thing. It is something that some might say is useful for our society to keep women in that place of being the primary caregiver, but it comes from a place of love. So for a woman who is trying to prioritize her health or put herself first, don't shame yourself for having the guilt. It just means that you care. It means that you want to be a great figure for your children, but also remember that there's other people they've been gifted with. There are other people that can serve them, and that you are also modeling to them what self-love, self-worth looks like. So it's a process. We go through 8 to 12 weeks. I have a coaching program. We have retreats. I have a free challenge and a lot of things on my website to help women with that journey, depending on where you're starting from. But yeah, it is a process and it's not going to like miracle. Like I wish I had a pill. I would also be
Right.
to just cure self, cure mom to it. But it does come down to worth and value.
Yeah. Well, and as you're saying that, I'm like, how cool is it that your daughters are going to grow up and as they move forward in their lives and possibly have families of their own, like the norm will be not completely sacrificing themselves. Like when we're talking about the generational impact, and then all the women that you work with too, right? Like they can show up in a different way. And for their kids, like there's going to be less, the unlearning and reteaching our kids. Like for their kids, it's just going to be the example that they naturally set because you've put in the work to set that example for them. And it's not generations and generations and generations the way
Yes,
that we
I'm
make the
thinking the same
difference.
thing.
It's like in our homes now, it makes a difference. And then when they like, it's just, oh,
Yeah.
I get like every time it comes up, the generational impacts, I get like full body chills because it's like, it's so cool. Like we have so much power to change the world for the
Mhm.
better in so many ways. Like, how
Yeah.
cool.
So cool because you're so right. My dad, he's retired. I love him. I'm a daddy's girl and a mama's girl. But he will say out of his mouth, "Your mom did such a good job raising you." I'm telling you, this is a straight West African man, proud. Okay. He will say that with not flinch. And I'm like, "Sarah, that's not how that you live with us. That's not how that was supposed to go, you know?" Like
Yeah.
anytime
Yes.
went to work, he came home, like, that's it. He didn't know where the lotion was. He didn't know where the soap, he never, not never. I'm telling you, I have never felt the caregiver compassionate side of my father. I don't even know if he has that bone in him. And so I look at my girls and I'm like, "I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous." And they laugh. I'm like, "You guys don't even understand." And, you know, I tell my husband, as often as I can, but, oh, it's so cool they get this. Like, they get to have that relationship with you. They get to, like, climb all over you and see you in this type of way. And yes, daddy is, strong and he will lay down the law, but then he's also gonna put on the lotion and make sure your pajamas fit. Like, he's both. And that's just a dichotomy for me that I'm very honored that we were able to reverse in
Yeah.
one relation. So
Yeah. Like it's so incredible. It's so cool.
it is possible. I've seen women do it in a family, like in their family, when their structure wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to listen to this and be like, "Oh, nice, precious, you married up." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not it. Like, I've seen women because sometimes it comes down to not just our spouses or our partners having this view of women, it comes to us. Like,
Mhm.
there are women that I have to teach them, like, you're going to be just as valuable to your family if you don't cook every meal. Right?
Yeah.
Like, to them, it's just that that's what their women in their family's done. That's what they do. They are burned at the candle at both ends. If I don't do that, what type of mother that insert here? And I try to remind them that, like, the mother is not synonymous with all these servitude roles.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, so in your household, and that's one of the first things we do in my challenge, which is called the Lighten Your Load Challenge, and in my program, the Generational Health Program, is to look at your list, look at your household, and what on here is your responsibility, and what on here is the responsibility of the other humans in your house. If the load is not shared, there needs to be some adjustments, and it's not going to be 50-50. It's not going to be 70-30,
Mhm.
but it needs to be shared. And I'm not saying asking for help. I'm saying that there needs to be some responsibility shifting so that you can think that you have some space to prioritize yourself. And then you're able to say, oh, I didn't drop the ball. No, that's not my ball. I don't
Yeah.
carry that ball, you know? And so, yeah, it's a process, but I have seen women, and I could tell you dozens of stories of women who have seen that shift in their own household within a calendar year. So,
Yeah, remarkable, remarkable. Okay, Precious, something that I love to ask every guest that I have on Worthy Mother podcast towards the end of the episode is about self-care because as we've said, like I believe fully that taking care of ourselves as moms is crucial and also not necessarily what naturally happens in
yeah.
all lives. And so I would love to just know how you take care of yourself and if you just have any tips for moms to make sure that they are also caring for themselves regularly. I know we've gotten into that throughout the episode, but
Yeah.
just kind of summarizing for us.
Good one, good one. So I like to use the term mom care. I think self-care is, I agree with it. I think it's very valuable. But for women who already do a lot, sometimes self-care can feel even more heavy. It's like, dang, you gotta tell me I have to take care of the kid, do PTA duty, do this, do that, and then I gotta take care of me too. I'm tired. I'm tired, sis. Cut the show, cut the lights. I don't want another task. So mom care is a reframe again to say not just how do I take care of myself, but how do I let others take care of me? So I help my clients create a list of things that feel like care to them and seeing how do they make those things happen and who do they allow to help them with those things, right? And so one thing for me that's a self-care moment is like in the evenings, I'm able to like take a long shower and put my melatonin oil on, all that because I'm not doing bedtime. That's a mom care moment. That means that someone else is stepping in. My teenager does the dishes, right? So then there's other people are stepping in so that I have space to take care of myself. So self care really is about making space, and making space is not always going to be contingent on you. So a mom care routine might look like every Tuesday, my kids go to their aunt's house. This is not me. This is somebody else. Or for one of my clients, her husband started taking her son to practice every day. Y'all, she's a teacher of the year. I love her so much, KJ. Her husband's work is closer to the practice than hers. She used to pass where her husband is. Go pick the son up, take him to practice, stay at practice, and then bring him over dinner. In our conversation, I say, hey, it's a blind spot. Have you considered? She's like, no, I actually never considered that. Y'all, 5 minutes of a conversation. Her husband's like, sure, I think that's a great idea, but didn't realize that in making that initial decision for their family, it was just they did it that way because that's what worked and that's where she found her value. Well, mom care says now that's an extra hour and a half you have every single day. That's an opportunity for this father and his son to bond over this sport. And now you have space to think like, what extra do I want to do with this hour and a half of my time? Do I want to stop and get my self-care things done? Right. So now the self-care comes in when your mom care window is opened up, then you can get your nails done. Or if you don't like getting your nails done, go to a art class. Or if you don't like doing art, go to a dance class. Like that's when you have the space. But if you don't have the space to think, then it becomes a task. Then it becomes a personal care chore. Then it becomes, I'm doing this so I can look like a girl who prioritizes herself. And that's not beneficial either. So those are my tips is really involve your circle, but I'm here to help anyone watching this. But just remember you're valuable to your family. And if you love your family, you have to take care of yourself and you have to let them take care of you too. So that would be my take on self-care and mom care and all the things.
I love it. I love asking this question because I'm all about reframing self-care and understanding it as caring for ourselves. Like I think there's so many messages out there about what self-care means and that word. I mean, like you said, like you referred to, that word is hard sometimes and we have to
Yeah.
figure out ways around the word because it's like what does it mean? And I love that idea of mom care that include it's like about just being cared for. So whether it's you doing the care for you or someone else doing the care for you, what needs to be cared for
Yeah.
and how can that happen? And I think that's just a really great way to reframe that. And I hope that hits with some people because again, it's like how whatever we call it, whatever we're doing, it's really the meeting of our needs, making sure our needs are getting met, making sure we are valuing ourselves and believe in our worth enough to know that like, yeah, we deserve being cared for and it benefits our families. Again, it's for us, but it's for them too. And
Yeah,
amazing.
for sure. And it doesn't have to be aesthetic. You know, like
No, yeah.
if you don't like getting a manicure, then don't. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like or if you don't want to get your nails done, they're like $120 in Atlanta. You can get a good massage for that, right? If you don't like people touching you, then go, do something else. Go to a day spa. Those are like $30 to $50 depending on where you live. Or if you don't want to spend a single lick of money, say every Saturday from 10 to 1, I'm gonna go sit in the park and read my book because I know I can't read it at home. All of those things are ways to ignite your spark. All of those things are forms of mom care and self-care. So I think what you're doing is great work. Now don't go, don't toot my horn too much. You're doing the great work as well, putting these conversations together, sharing it with women, going through what you've gone through in the last year and still showing up. I just want to pour that back into you and say bravo as well.
Precious, thank you so much. That means so much to me. You're also incredible, obviously. I mean, everything you've shared, like you are doing the work you're supposed to be doing clearly. Where can listeners find you? I know you've mentioned some different programs and coaching. Where do we
Yeah.
find out about everything?
Well, yeah. So I am Precious K. Williams on all platforms. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. My website is preciouskwilliams.com. I do help women and women's groups. So if you have a church program, if you work in a company that has primarily women and you want someone to come in to do a training or speaking, those are all types of things that I do. So it's truly just moving the message forward that mom care, releasing stress, and building generational health are all things that I do. So I believe it's mom's turn to truly be healthy and excited to talk. So go to my website, book a call, let's see how I can serve you. And yay, I can't wait to connect. Or just DM me, the old fashioned way. Not the millennials, we love the internet. So DM me on any platform and we can chat.
Amazing. And I will have it all linked nice and easily in the show notes too. So whether you want to check out the website or just connect with Precious on Instagram, should be pretty easy to find out where to do that.
Hey, you're awesome. This is so fun.
Thank you. You are awesome. And I'm so glad that we've connected. And I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation. And then now it gets to go out into the world and other moms get to hear it. I think there's a lot of really important pieces we touched on here. And yeah, just excited for the impact that this single conversation gets to have on moms and their families. So cool.
Yeah, bravo, bravo. I'm excited as well.
Yes. And thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. You are worthy, Mama.